Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to see each and every one of you. We're going to turn over now the very capable hands of our city clerk.
This is the pre-meeting of the Mobile City Council, Tuesday, June 9th. We have approval of minutes from June the 2nd.
Great job as always.
Excellent.
Appeals, we have requests for a waiver of the noise ordinance on, and I think we're going to do these each week, or are we going to be ready to take all of them together, all the dates?
Yeah, I would say each week because I don't think they had too much going on this past weekend because I'm sure it was raining off and on Saturday. So I would just say just go on for the next, yes.
Okay, so it will be June 13th in Joe Bailey Park and on the corner of Halls Mill Road and McVeigh Drive.
Can I ask a question about their, did they work with public safety to get their bond and everything when you're in the right-of-way? I know a park is not the same.
I don't know.
Yeah, I thought maybe that, yeah.
Because we're not giving them, we only give them.
Mr. Williams, is your mic on?
No.
Okay.
So I asked a question last week, didn't get an answer, but I had just, my request was that person be contacted by the administration, informed of all that was necessary to operate in a right-of-way. Because that's what they had planned to do at McVeigh, and if I'm correct, in Halls Mill Road. But it was raining, they weren't there, as CJ pointed out.
Yeah, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I spoke to the individual last week. He stated to me that they was going out and doing some praise and worship. And I just told him I don't have anything to do with praise and worship, but when neighbors start complaining, that's when we had to step in. So he didn't say anything to me about collecting money, so.
It's not just money.
No, it's not about collecting money. It's like those collecting money.
If somebody got hit and the city was aware they were out there, so they have to fill out.
Ms. Rick, Councilwoman Rich, is your mic on?
Yeah, but I don't know.
Can you speak directly into it, please?
Yes, okay. I don't think it just deals with collecting funds. You have to there's certain criteria, and they have to go through public safety to get this permission. So we can give them the noise, all the noise they want to make in that time, but there's a certain liability that the city would have by giving permits knowingly into the right-of-way, and then, God forbid, somebody is harmed. So they just have a protocol for it. So ask the clerk's office to contact?
No, that's not our job.
To give them a number of the person, because isn't there someone assigned?
Administration's aware.
That's the administration has to answer that. We shouldn't be pursuing that other than asking the administration should answer that question for you and we'll be done with it.
I agree.
Okay.
Is there anything you all want to
Silence.
apprise us of?
I can't hear.
Maybe
Public Safety Director?
Do you have your mic on,
Director
Mr.
Barber
President?
might have some insight.
Apparently you got to speak right into the microphone.
Let me get up on
I don't know what
it. Is there anything that you all would like to apprise us of, Mr. Public Safety Director?
Councilwoman Rich is correct. There's a form that's filled out with the police department. It's called, it's part of our roadblock permit when people are doing fundraisers or other activities in our right-of-ways. It specifically prohibits that activity in certain intersections that we deem are dangerous. Schillingers and Airport Boulevard come in mind. There's instructions for them to stay out of the roadway when traffic is moving. But there is a permitting process so that we know that they are out there with permission and they've been instructed properly the rules of the right-of-way.
All right.
So have you all been able to inform the person relative to the permitting process? Is that Reverend Pope? Have you informed them of that?
I'll have to check and see if Mr. Pope has received or applied for a roadblock permit. Been a little distracted, so we'll find out.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Request for a waiver of the noise ordinance on July the 12th from 8 a.m. until 10 p.m. in Langen Park Pavilion.
Yeah, that's fine.
July 3rd from 6 p.m. till 9 p.m. on I-10 Industrial Parkway North. June the 13th, from 5 until 6:30 PM on Queensboro Court.
It's fine.
Well, I would say the same thing will apply for Langham Park. If they get hit, if they harm somebody in Langham Park.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
We can't hear anything you say.
Okay, I'm saying the same thing will apply for Langham Park as it did to Navco Road. If they hurt somebody while they're doing what they're doing in Langham Park, could the city be responsible for that also?
No. It's different in a park. It's public right-of-way.
It's public land.
So is this court, if they're having it in the court and
It's
not
a
in their
concert.
property? For
Yeah,
the
one-
Excelsior
it's a-
band?
This is a concert in the
Yeah,
park.
It's a concert in the park.
You put it on the right of way.
No,
No,
not-
this
not at
is a
Langham.
concert in Langham Park.
Right, I agree. But Langham Park is owned by the city, so is the right of way.
No.
Yes.
It's the traffic issues. You can't block traffic. You have to be seen. There are certain criteria. You're in a park, you're not having a car coming through you. So we've always allowed people to gather and have events in the park. If they're going to get loud, they come to the council, but they don't go to public safety. They might go to the rec department for $1 billion. It's two separate events. I mean,
I agree.
not even in the same criteria. But I'm questioning this one on Queensboro Court. Is that in her home,
That's at their home, yes.
on her property?
Yes.
Just her address, okay. Thank you.
Public hearings. Today is a public hearing to declare the structures at 1512 Wellington Street, 450 McCarley Street, 213 First Street, 2715 Betby Street, and 2665 Betby Street, public nuisances, and ordering them demolished.
Mr. President, all of these items are in District 1, and I do have a concern about 2715 Betby Street. The other ones is 4 other ones, and I look at those, and those were in real bad shape. The one at 2715 that we are ordering it to be demolished, I didn't see anything worthy of that house being demolished. I didn't see nothing with the structure. I didn't see nothing with I didn't see anything with the roof. I don't think we ought to be knocking them down for the sake of knocking them down.
And that's on 2715,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes.
Mr. Dolphinbaum? Good morning. Wait, what's
Is
that?
his microphone on?
Cut him on, okay.
It is,
Yeah.
no,
Really?
Is it on?
it is both those on. And we got Public Works Director working on the mic.
Is that better now? Yes.
Yes.
We've got George.
At 2715 Betby Street, this was part of the blight survey back in 2019. It originally came to our attention, and at that time, we found some compromised walls, roof damage. Also, there's a hole in the roof where there's water penetrating, and that were the main points on why we started and initiated the nuisance abatement for this particular location. With these problems, we have the roof, exterior wall, and with the roofing, the amount of damage that's in the house would require that, based on our procedures, that we go with the demolition process. Now, we have sent notice to the property owner to make repairs, and at this point, we've had no response, no building permits to repair, and the staff's position is that we go forward with the recommendation for the demolition.
Are you saying that the property owner received the notice? Did they have to sign anything?
Yes, sir. We send out certified mail to everyone that has an interest based on a title report. And if you like, I can check the file to make sure that they've received it. But we do receive those return receipts and the notices that the notice is delivered. But we also post the property with a placard. We advertise, and we file a list pendants with the probate court. So we go every step that's reasonable to make contact with the property owners.
Okay, I would certainly like to get the name and the address of the property owner. I would like to hold this one over. I don't want us to vote today. They demolish this.
And
particular
Mr.
house.
Richardson, if you look in the packet that's attached, and you should have with the electronic Novus attachment, part of the documentation is the title report, and that lists the owners that was sent
Okay.
notice to.
Gotcha. Okay, that's good.
Yes, ma'am.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Reggie regarding situations pertaining to but not limited to the transfer of property between ACDD and the city of Mobile, eradicating injustice within our penal system, and multiple amendment and ordinance resolution ideas that will improve the quality of life for residents of the city of Mobile, as well as completing the remaining portion of his petition from June the 2nd. Velma Dale Jackson regarding the city of Mobile and the coronavirus. Rachel Fairley regarding issues surrounding the Metro Jail and unfair treatment of citizens of Mobile. Christopher Reams regarding the issue of detaining him as he volunteers time off to render aid. Devon Johnson regarding abuse of power and to address living conditions in Metro Jail. Sabrina Mass regarding conditions of jail and the incident that occurred at the jail after the protests on previous Sunday. Antonio Moore regarding police accountability in the community. Raphael Sims statue downtown.
President,
Mr. Vice President?
I'd like to ask a question. I see that the clerk just read off about people coming down here speaking of the jail. I guess Director Barber, you be prepared for that, or do we need to call the sheriff or what to address those issues?
It's not a city issue.
Yeah, Vice President, the Metro Jail is ran by the county sheriff. The Mobile PD or the Public Safety Department of the City of Mobile has no direct influence or any control with the policies and procedures of Metro.
Is it possible that we can just say request for the people that's coming down here to know that we did request for them or ask for them over here to address their concerns, and because we got to give them some type of answer when they come down and everything. So, and I understand that you cannot answer them, but at least we say that we tried, and ask someone from the sheriff department to come over and to address some of these concerns.
If that's the desire of the council that I notify the sheriff's department of this topic, I'll be glad to exit the meeting and make that notification.
All right,
for
thank
the
you.
10:30 meeting.
All right, thank you.
CIP resolutions held over. 21401, authorized contract with C. Thornton, Inc. for Slava Creek drainage improvements. 21402, authorized contract with S. Bailier for Mims Park synthetic turf athletic field A.
Mr. President,
Mr. Williams?
I would like to ask the council if they will take this item out of order and bring it up to the front, maybe underneath the mayor's address, so that I have several guests that are going to be here that need to get back to their day. And if we could bring that up forward and pass it and have a little photo up.
I don't have any issue. That'd be
Okay,
fine.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Resolutions held over. 08403, approve item-based bid for swim pool furniture with Leslie's Pool Mart, Inc. 08404, approve purchase order to Florida Transcor for roadway striping thermoplastic pre-melter trailer package. 08405, approve purchase order to send some equipment for 6 18-foot trash trailers. 09406, allocate stormwater fee funds to the McNally Park dredging project. 60408, approve settlement agreement and release of claims. Shantasia Bracy. Ordinance is being introduced. 02015, ordinance eliminating and replacing the word race on the City of Mobile official forms and documents. Consent resolutions being introduced. 03425, reappoint Vanessa Davis Wright to the Police Citizens.
Mr. President,
Mr. Daves?
I'd like to go back to 02015. And I've had an opportunity to talk briefly with Councilman Richardson with respect to this particular ordinance. And I think there's some information we need to have in advance of voting on this. You know, one of the threshold questions for me is, why is the city asking for this information? And there may be a good reason, there may be no reason. I don't know, but we're talking about, I assume, a multitude of forms. So the first question would be, why are we asking for the information? Do we need the information? And the second question would be, once we know why we need it, then we know how to ask the question. It may be that we're required to get this information because of some federal or state mandate that we provide the information, or that we upload it to the federal or state, and that it's got to be asked in a certain way using certain words so that they can take the data and use it upstream. My suggestion would be that we send this to a committee so that we can have the appropriate people from the city, so that we can all have some opportunity to ask some questions and get some answers with respect to it.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson?
when Bob Riley was governor and was in Mobile, and I was in his presence, I took him my driver's license. I said, Governor Riley, is this not my picture? He said, that's your picture. Why are you asking me, why did you put down there that I am black? Ray Charles can see that I'm black. I said, for what reason did you put down there? And he said, Ray's black. I am requesting that you remove race off the driver's license of all the citizens in the city of Mobile. He went on to say, and he had his arguments. He took it off. Look at your driver's license today to see if you have race on your driver's license. I would venture to say, if I had not said anything to Governor Riley, it would have had your race up, but that's what it would have had. Now, you know they don't use the two colors, black and white. People from all ethnicities in this city, they use two colors. That either you black or you white. I'm going to treat you as a black person unless you put down on that thing you white, is what they read the saying. So that's being done in the city. It's not so much for what we're doing, it's also for the future, that it won't be done in the future. It's not but one race, the human race. And by the virtue of the fact that whoever asking what race they're in can answer you, can process that information, can think and reason and speak, you know you don't have no other animal. You're speaking to a human. And for you who don't know, if you can procreate with the person you are with, That's your race. I took my DNA. I am 29% Western Europe. I am undercover white just like you. We are in the same race. We are in the same species. Homo sapiens. All of us, 7.5 million of us, are all Homo sapiens. And we all can reproduce among each other. And we cannot reproduce with any other animal. Because when God created every one of those animals, go to Genesis 1:1, he said each after its own kind, meaning he locked it in that creation. You cannot reproduce beyond members of your race, the human race. And for your information, growing up in the days of segregation, they had black on the fountain and they had white on the water fountain. Do you think that was intended for all black people? People from India, not only did they drink from the white water fountain, they lived in the white community, they went to the white schools, and they married white women. Our hair identified us. It was for African Americans only. That should have never happened. It is time to remove race from all of our forms and list our ethnicity, where our ancestors came from. And all of us, we all have one. All of us. I could have listed on mine Western Europe. I think it's time.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President,
Mr. Gregory?
if we are not sending this to committee, maybe if there are specific questions, about which forms and how they'll be done, maybe we can get those questions answered prior to next week?
And if there's sufficient support for it to go to committee, we'll gain that between now and 10:30 and then make an announcement. I haven't heard but from Mr. Days relative to wanting it to go to a committee, so if there's sufficient support, please let me know and we'll make that assignment at 10:30.
It's a first read. I think we
Yes, ma'am.
should.
That's what I was.
We generally do.
I don't have a problem with that, Mr. Williams. We'll have that ready for 10:30. Yes, sir.
But are you
repeat
requesting
what-
now for the
Could you
for the
repeat what was said?
administration to give us all the forms? Or if Mr. Richardson knows all the forms?
No, I don't know all the
Okay.
forms.
I know it's on our census, and we don't produce that, so obviously the feds want some information that we might have to mirror in order to get resources. So I don't know if it can be done in stages, but it's, should be discussed. We should know any legislation we pass, what the rippling effect would be. So if the administration can give us every form that makes reference, I don't think I'll be ready to vote, so, and I don't think asking questions should be considered disrespectful, because my office always asks questions. I feel very comfortable asking questions.
I don't have no problem with that, but
Thank you, because I
Now,
don't want to be
Mr. President, if I may,
maligned by anybody.
I'm sorry, Ms. Rich, I didn't.
No, I was saying it's sensitive, I guess, in some ways and formats. So I just don't want to be seen as someone who's going to be labeled for no reason to ask questions about something. Because
And I agree with Mr. Richardson. There's so many questions that we were asked on forms that have absolutely no relevance to the subject at hand. But things cost money, and with a reasonable approach to eliminating any unnecessary piece of information. Where I live sometimes really doesn't matter on a certain issue. Sometimes it does. How tall I am, or if I'm a male or a female, sometimes really doesn't matter. And I think we just need to have a reasonable approach to what we ask for information and have a need to know that. Given governments of any kind information that is unnecessary, I think it should be eliminated. And privacy of all information, and in this case, just the elimination of unnecessary information is certainly worthy of discussion. But we do need to know the impact and how long it's going to take to do this before we send out the order. Thanks.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson?
I would like to ask Director Barber to come down. I would like to ask him a question or two. I would like to ask you, are there instances where police officers would ask citizens to give their race?
If I understand your question, when would a police officer ask for race? Obviously, anytime during arrest, ticketing, all of our forms that we do include race on those. We include other demographic data, but that's also part of our bias-based policing to make sure that we are tracking that type of information as far as our traffic stops and arrests.
But ethnicity provides you the same information. If I told you I was African American, if that's my ethnicity.
It is, to us, ethnicity is more cultural than skin color. So the use of skin color in descriptive characteristics is pretty important in policing.
Okay, but if I was here from Bangladesh, what skin color would we expect to put down on the form?
And again, it's a call on the officer's part as far as the original heritage. So
It's no place for it, Chief. That's just for black and white. That's all you interested in. If they here from Mexico or somewhere else, they don't put no skin color down. They're only interested in black people and white people. The day has come for that to drop. The knee is on my neck. Let it go. Time that we came. That's time out for that.
Mr. President,
Mr. Davis?
I want to go back to the comments that Mr. Williams and Ms. Rich said and make it clear that I'm not necessarily opposed to this legislation. As I said at the beginning, the threshold question is, why are we asking for the information? Do we have a need to know the information for the particular purpose for which the form is being completed? And then the second question is, if we do need to know the information, then that informs us on how to ask a question. If we're required to upload that information to the federal government, for example, that uses the word race, then we need to use the word race so we can make sure that we're accurately uploading information to the people who are asking us to provide it to them. All I'm asking is that I think looking at the forms as a good idea, all I'm asking is that we get some questions answered before we vote on this piece of legislation. As I said at the beginning, I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I just think we need some more information so we can craft a better ordinance if that's what we get to.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson?
I am not opposed to finding out every form in this city with the word race on it. But if there is one form in the city that want it, I think we need to proceed. And we've already been told that there are forms with the race on it, that the race is asked to us. We just been told that. But I'm not against finding out every other form in this city with that on it. I don't have nothing against that.
Mr. President,
Ms. Gregory?
I think we're all on the same page here, just trying to get more information about how we would go about doing this. If we could get the various forms that the city uses, not just police, but any other forms, any other documents, and then I also think we need to get a copy of the census and go back and look at that because of the way the federal government handles it, so that we can make a better informed decision as we go forward. I don't think, Fred, anybody is opposed to doing this. We just want to make sure that we do it the right way. And if we're going to take it to committee, then let's, move ahead and do that so that we can get it taken care of and vote.
And I
there's
agree with you, Ms. Gregory. We'll have this ready for a committee at 10:30.
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
We'll have it ready for a committee assignment at 10:30, so that we can get all the forms and know how this particular ordinance will impact the running of the city. It'll give the administration time to produce the forms and tell us how we could move forward with potentially implement the ordinance.
And besides the forms, then the committee, of course, would sit down with the different departments that have these forms, because we've got DBE contracts, and that's important. But if we're going to drop certain things, does that drop that criteria? So we have to know the rippling effect and the different departments that utilize forms, not just public safety.
Well, I said public safety and any other, so yeah.
Not the way this ordinance is at least written. And, well, I'll talk about this at committee. I'm glad that there will be a committee. Thanks.
May I make a comment?
Master?
Just as you deliberate these questions, I think it's important that you should approach the county commission, because the city of Mobile is not autonomous from the county. And also you need to determine how are we going to fill out the federal forms, all the grant requests, and things that, we're doing in that arena having to do with that. And so those questions need to be answered while you're doing your research.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson?
if you read the ordinance, we're not addressing anything in the state, in the county, or in the federal government, because we have no authority over them. If they send us a form and it has raised on it, we have to fill it out. But the form should not be generated by the city. We need to take it off all our forms. The essence of who I am has to do with my race. Because humans, and only humans, has the ability to walk upright, to talk, to laugh, to cry, to think, to reason, to plan, to read, to write. All humans has the ability to do that. So when you're trying to claim that I'm not in the human race with somebody else, you have lowered who I am. It's 7.5 billion humans in this world, and they are all in the same race with the same capabilities. From 1619 to 1865, my ancestors was banished from the human race. It was treated as merely property. After 1865, they were brought up in a substandard way. And we are carrying on the tradition of our past ancestors who established it for a reason, to justify why they went to Africa and got my ancestors in the first place. Because they were, read the Dred Scott decision, 1857, where the Supreme Justice says that we was born innately inferior. If you think color makes that much difference, then bring me a color by itself and let me measure it and examine it. color is a parasite. It cannot exist on its own. It must be stuck on something, and whatever it is stuck on is what's important. You can't bring me white by itself. How can you tell me how important it is when you can't measure it? You can't examine it. It's stuck on something. It is unimportant. We just assign some sort of value to it. It's valueless. If we could figure out one color is more valuable than another color, every car out there would be painted the valuable color. They come in all colors, because what the car can do is what the folks looking for, not the color of the car. Our function is who make us who we are, what we can do. And our color adds absolutely nothing to what we can do. It's time to drop the color off the form. It adds nothing to it. It is valueless, except for you to identify who to mistreat. The time has come and gone for us to keep on listing our citizens in terms of race, and we, with all of the different ethnic groups in this nation, we only have two, white and black. What about tan? Just two. It's time to drop white, and it's time to drop black. We are all members of the same race.
Mr. Richardson, we will be assigning this particular ordinance to committee so that we can have further discussion and get all the forms and see how we might be able to move forward.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Consent resolutions being introduced. 03425, reappoint Vanessa Davis Wright to the Police Citizens Community Relations Advisory Council. 31409, authorize acceptance of Federal Restore Act funds for the Africatown Welcome Center, Phase 1, $500,000. 40410 through 414 are declaring the structures public nuisances and ordering them demolished. CIP resolutions being introduced. 21415, authorized contract with Christian Prius Landscape Architecture for Crawford Murray Park Playground, $34,212. 21416, authorized contract with Iker Construction Corporation for Hope Community Center Playground, $78,800. Resolutions being introduced for the first time. 01417, authorized agreement with Cyber Investigations and Intelligence Agency for cybersecurity risk analysis, $76,440. 01418, authorized lease agreement with Dog River Marina and Boat Works for boat slip for Fire Department Marine Vessel, $5,057 per year. 21419, authorized contract with Skipper Consulting for St. Joseph Street two-way conversion project design, $41,950. 21420, authorized contract with Cowles Murphy Glover and Associates for engineering services, maintenance, dredging for the channel at McNally Park, $106,175. 21421, authorized contract with Delta Flooring for Harold L. Johnson Police Quarters Administrative Offices, flooring and painting, $31,238. 08422, approved purchase orders for Safeware for hazmat radiation detection response kits, $29,811.59, and approving purchase order for product vendor for encrypted data recovery software annual license, $18,000. 08424, approved item-based bid with various vendors for industrial and safety supplies. Announcements.
Any announcements from members of the council? Mr. Mayor, anything from you or members of your station? All right, well, we'll see each other at 10:30.